What's up, everybody? Ryan Sickler here, and I just wanted to let you know that tickets to my fall dates of the Live and Alive tour are on sale now. Go to ryansickler.com, get your tickets to all shows. I'm coming to Austin, Dallas, La Jolla, Salt Lake City, Denver, Chicago, Detroit, Minneapolis, Madison, Portland, Fort Lauderdale, Tampa, and Tempe. Tickets for all shows are available right now on my website at ryansickler.com.
Hey, baby, we're going to be here all day. We're going to be here all day, baby. I like this kind of party.
Welcome back to the Wayback, y'all. I'm Ryan Sickler over here, ryansickler.com, Ryan Sickler on all your social media. Go check out tickets on my site. They're all available and only available at ryansickler.com through the clubs. Don't be trying those aftermarket places. It's all BS, I promise. Very excited to introduce my guest here today. Ladies and gentlemen, first time here on the Wayback, Mike Vecchione.
Hey!
Welcome to the Wayback,
Thanks, Ryan.
my
Thanks
friend.
for having me on.
Thanks for sitting back here with me.
Wayback.
Look, I know from doing the Honeydew, you were a wrestler.
Yeah.
And wrestling was something I dabbled in middle school only because we had this like gym class where they would rotate sports. We're going to do volleyball for a week. We're going to wrestle for, that. So I had sort of, was introduced what real like collegiate wrestling was.
As a little bit of an appetizer.
Yeah, exactly. Because prior I'm Hulk Hogan, Iron Sheik wrestling.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, no, this. They're like, oh, this.
I
okay.
like that wrestling because it's got better storylines. Our wrestling was just like cut weight, suck it up, go out, do that. It's like I like the drama more than the actual wrestling. I actually would have been better at that. I think the storylines.
You think so?
Yeah.
I just
like
remember I got bit by the bug when I was in middle school. It was 7th grade, and they were doing an assembly in front of the whole school, or the whole 7th grade, excuse me. Like, okay, everybody, you had talked about how they would come wrestle in the middle of class.
Yeah.
This was just a one-time thing, and it was a big deal, like a play day or something, Right. So the whole 7th grade's in the gym, and I'm going up against this kid named Lee, and everybody loved Lee. He was the blonde, golden boy, that kid, and I was definitely not that
I
kid.
hate blonde kids.
And
Just
he ended up being a cop, and
Of course.
and
What
and-
else would he be?
Right, and the school loved him.
Yeah.
So I'm going up against him, and he's
Prom
also
king type.
Yes, 100%. He's also athletic.
Yeah.
He's legit.
Yeah.
And I remember we go out, and he gets my foot, and he like walks me like I'm hopping one leg back all the way to the edge of the.
He tried to
circle.
arrest your foot.
He beat it with a club.
Your foot is under arrest. It's being detained.
And I remember the school going, whoa. And then I snuck his leg and went him back.
Yeah.
And I heard the school go, whoa. And then also I have a brother. You know what I mean? And my brother and I would fuck each other up. And I'm like, this kid ain't bringing anything harder than my brother does. And I headlocked the shit out of that kid.
Oh, that's awesome.
And pinned him like that. And the school was like, whoa. And I was like, here's your motherfucking y'all.
I love that. I
There's
love
your
getting up
mother-
afterwards and go, where's your prom king now? Where's your prom king now?
I'll see you in math class, mother. So, but then I didn't wrestle. I played basketball in my 9th grade year in high school.
Oh, my God.
Made the team, but the coach was such a such a that the guys that got cut were my buddies. Were like, come over here and wrestle. It's way better. It's way better. And I was like, you know what? A basketball coach. And I go to wrestling my 10th grade year. That's when I started wrestling, and I did that for 3 years. But
I mean, that's crazy. That's really late.
yeah,
I started in 8th grade, and I thought that was really late.
yeah, and I knew kid when I met them. They're like, "Oh, I've been wrestling my whole life."
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Oh, you wrestled like we played football and soccer and
Right.
shit. Like, yeah,
Right.
exactly. But
Yeah.
we talked about like that was the one sport where you really found out what the you were made of.
Yeah.
What you were all about, what you weren't all about.
Right.
A lot more what you weren't all about.
Really,
than what
it wakes you
were
up to the
all
fact,
about.
like, because we were talking about tournaments off air a little bit.
Yeah.
And with tournaments, it's a long day. You wake up like at like 5:30 a.m. You go to the school. You go to
It's
whatever
probably
school
cold.
you're going
It's
to.
a holiday tournament. It's 6 degrees outside.
Right. It's always cold. You check your weight at your high school. Weight is a huge thing in the sport. You check your weight at your high school, and then hopefully you make it, and then you you get on the bus, and then you drive a few hours to wherever the tournament is, and then you get off, and then you go check your weight again, and then the official weigh-ins, then you make weight, and then you go to McDonald's. After you make weight, you have that breakfast at McDonald's with hot cakes and all this stuff that you're not supposed to, that we know better now.
Because you're about to wrestle.
Yeah, we know. It's like you need energy.
We would eat like 3 pieces of pizza sometimes.
Yeah.
Like carb load.
Yeah,
what?
you don't know.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, we would go to Hardee's. Just the worst.
Hardee's. I haven't heard that name.
Hardee's.
I teach, Carl's Jr. out here. It's so weird. It's the same.
I need hash browns for energy. So you would eat, and then like after, like, it depends how much you struggle to make weight. If you really struggle to make weight, like a calm tiredness would fall over you, and you'd be nice after, be nice and tired. So then you go back to the high school, and the whole thing is to digest and like warm up. But by that time, I'm tired from all the training and cutting weight, and then rehydrating and then eating. It's like I'm ready to sleep now. But it's like no. Now it's time to go out and fight.
Work.
Fight and work. So I was never, if I had to do it over, I was never mentally prepared enough to go and wrestle in those situations. I was always tired. I was like, I want to win. I was too focused on like the outcome. It's like you can't focus on the outcome. You have to like have that like meanness in you. Like, okay, now I'm ready. All the suffering. I'm gonna. Yes, princess. Princess tried to seduce me.
She did
when I sat down. Anyway,
she came up and kissed you a lot.
Yeah,
she flirted with you. You're on the like list, princess.
Anyway, I would. But I would never get myself up emotionally for the matches in the correct way. Some guys did. I watched guys do it, and it always benefited them.
We had some wild characters I remember throughout high school. Did you have any like guys you would remember or stories you had?
Yeah, I had, your friends on the team, my friends, and I just remember this. I remember if you would lose in these tournaments, which were all day, and none of us drove because it was like 8th, 9th grade. So if you lose, you automatically became like the equipment person.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Became like the water boy all of a sudden.
Everybody's getting Gatorade from you.
So not only did you lose, it's like some of these were double elimination tournament. Most of them were double elimination. So if you'd lose, then you'd have to. That's a resiliency where it's like you'd have to get back up and wrestle again and stay alive. But sometimes I would just go and just lose twice immediately, and it's like, oh, you're the equipment guy now.
All day.
So yeah, that's what it would be. But like being pinned in those was never fun because it's like, oh, now it's a long day, and you watch your friends go through and succeed, and it's like you want them to win, but it's like, what are you doing there now? You're just doing water and equipment. So it's like, and you're there all day. So
I remember too, like I played every sport, like I said, and wrestling, I feel like were the funniest fucking guys.
Yeah.
I feel like they were the wildest weirdos. They were fucking funny. So there was a guy we used to wrestle against. I told this story on, I think it was Two Bears. This guy name was Mike Jones. Before Mike Jones, the rapper, this guy was Mike Jones. And there were stories would precede us getting to the school. You know, we're sophomores or whatever. We never wrestled Westminster yet. And they're like, Mike Jones, dude's fucking States, and like, what's his deal? And his deal was that he would, right before he would pin you, he would whisper to you how he was going to do it. And it would pause your mind enough where you're like, what's it? And then he's got you. He would go, headlock, and boom. Next thing you know,
that's great.
You're in a headlock.
I mean,
and you're done.
I could even imagine that kind of confidence.
And you would hear it, right?
That's insane.
Yes, and he would go, cradle, and boom, you're in a fucking cradle. And he was a fucking badass. He was a badass.
Great. He would call it beforehand.
But one of my favorite stories, this is the type of, and I really think a sport like that probably stunted our growth. Like cutting weight and shit when you're fucking 14 and 15 is probably not good for your body and trash bags. And there was a kid, we had gone to a holiday tournament, and there was a kid that took some X-Lax to cut weight.
Yeah.
And there's like 4 mats on, this gym. There's one going over here, and it all whittles down to the finals, and then that's when they do the single, right? So you got shit going on all day. And these kids are wrestling. All of a sudden, this kid just power diarrheas everywhere. Mike Vecchione everywhere. Like
that's great.
And he fucking runs out. They roll up the mat. They get rid of it. They clean it. They get another one in there, and it's a stop down for a little bit. And it's like all of us are like, You know what I mean? Like, we didn't even know that could happen. So now everyone's like, don't fucking do that. Don't do that.
Wow.
But my buddy Eric Snyder, who's still friends to this day, he doesn't always think things through, and he took some X-Lax, and he's down in the men's room, and I remember our shitter didn't have a door. So in ninth grade, you know what I mean? You got to take a shit in front of the worst kids on the planet, high schoolers, with no door.
Yeah, they're not very supportive.
No, thank God no cell phones back then for something like that. Like, oh shit, you motherfucker. Yeah. So he's down in the bathroom. He's like, Ryan, call my brother Andy. Now, they lived like a mile and a half away, right? But this is landline. Right. So I got to go out to the payphone. I'm calling his brother Andy. Andy picks up. I'm like, Andy, your brother just fucking shit himself and he needs new underwear. We're about to wrestle. And he's like, God damn it. So he drives underwear up. And now Eric's like, Ryan, I'm fucked up. And Eric was a really good wrestler, like going to states and everything. Yeah. And we go up, and he was a heavyweight. It's the last match of the night. Eric's beating the kid like, I don't know, 8-2, something.
Right.
And all of a sudden, Eric just fucking lays flat on his back. Just lays down. And the kid just looks at him, the ref looks at him. We're all like, what the fuck? And I'm like, nah. The kid just goes over and lays on him. Ref says, boom. Eric gets up and sprints off the mat because he's about to shit himself.
That's so great.
Problem is, he didn't take one X-Lax. He took one strip of X-Lax.
Oh my God.
And he's about to be that kid. And he's a state wrestler. He's like, I don't care, I'm losing. Gets pinned, sprints off the mat. You remember fucking, you always had to shake after. And if you didn't, you got deducted a point for poor sportsmanship. Right. We lost by 1 point.
Oh my God.
Because he ran off the motherfucking mat and didn't shake the dude's hand. He's like, I don't care, I'm not shit.
God. That's unreal. And you know what? It's weird how that story triggered another story that I have. We went to wrestling camp when I was in Florida between my junior and senior year. Maybe it was sophomore and junior year. I don't know. I can't remember. But we went to, between junior and senior year, we went to a wrestling camp in South Dakota. So the whole thing was we went to South Dakota State University. We did a week of wrestling camp at South Dakota State. And then we would go around, our coaches arranged it, so we would go around to other summer programs and wrestle in South Dakota, North Dakota, and Wyoming. So we did it like an educational trip, but also wrestling, and it was folk style.
And how long you gone?
2 weeks. Okay. 1 week was at the SDSU, the camp, and the next week was competing around the tri-state area, South Dakota, North Dakota, Wyoming. None of us had ever been to that part of the country, but our coaches were from South Dakota. So we went, and we did the week at the camp, and then we're traveling around. You would stay with the people you were competing against. So it was pretty cool that way, and we were partying. You know, the coach would go to bed. Like, we would go out and just get hammered. And the coach didn't know this, but we were like, nah, this is a trip. We're going to blow it out. We're going to have fun.
Yeah.
And so we would get drunk, but we would have to wrestle the next day. And we didn't have to make weight. They would just match you up with somebody close to your weight. So it wasn't like you had to cut weight or anything. So we went out one night and just got hammered. I mean, really hammered. And then the next day we get up to wrestle, and we're wrestling terrible because we're hungover. And I'm wrestling, and in the middle of the match, I start like dry heaving, which is not abnormal for me. I would dry heave sometimes. So I was dry heaving. I didn't think anything of it. But because I had drank the night before, I had all these liquids. So in between periods, we're getting ready to see. I threw up on a kid that I was wrestling. I threw up on the kid that I was wrestling, and he goes. I remember his reaction. He was like, "Ah!" He goes, "Ah!" And they were like, "Oh my God, this is nuts." I was like, "Yeah." It was humiliating. It was humiliating. But I'd
still rather be you in that story.
Yeah. But they cleaned it up, and we continued the match. I think I ended up losing.
That's old school right there.
But yeah, they just cleaned it up, and then we continued.
The 80s, bro.
Yeah. Because I didn't throw directly. I grazed him, but it was still on him. Mm-hmm. So it's like, oh my, they didn't stop the match, to their credit.
Do you ever, do you have a favorite win? You got one that stands out where you're like, yeah, this one right here. What's up, everybody? Ryan Sickler here, and I just wanted to let you know that tickets to my fall dates of the Live and Alive tour are on sale now. Go to ryansickler.com, get your tickets to all shows. I'm coming to Austin, Dallas, La Jolla, Salt Lake City, Denver, Chicago, Detroit, Minneapolis, Madison, Portland, Fort Lauderdale, Tampa, and Tempe. Tickets for all shows are available right now on my website at ryansickler.com.
I had lost in regionals in my junior year, and I had a really good year. I had all wins in our area and everything, but in regionals,
What weight class were you then?
160.
Okay.
So I got in my own head, and I was a kid I should have beat, and I lost to him because I was just in my own head. And then I watched my friends go to states. I watched other people go to states, people on my team. And when I was sitting in the stands watching them at states and watching the state tournament, it was over and over again. I should be here. I should be here. I should be here. And it really, really hurt me. Really hurt me not to be there because I'd worked hard. But I just psyched myself out in the regional tournament. So I vowed to myself, I was like, the next year I'm going to win it. I will win this next year. And so you know how wrestling season goes. It's like, it's hard. So November, you get Thanksgiving is when you transition from football to wrestling.
All the fucking holidays.
Yeah.
Like the food holidays.
That's why
Thanksgiving
Christmas
in December is so fucking hard
Christmas
to
doesn't
get through.
resonate with me really because it's like I always had to cut weight. Always had to cut weight for that holiday tournament. Mm-hmm. So Thanksgiving is when you start training. Kind of, you're making the transition from football to wrestling. Christmas is like limited because you have to compete, and then January and February are brutal, and then it usually ends in end of February. March, you're out of the woods. But for those 2 months, it's like it's really, really brutal and tough. Oh, so I was so hurt that I had lost my junior year. My senior year, I was like, I don't care. I'll walk through fire. You get that chip on your shoulder. So my point is, my senior year, when everybody started getting tired, I wrestled 171 for the entire year. But for the tournaments, I cut to 60, and people were shocked. They were like, "You cut another 11?" I go, "Yeah, because because people are getting tired at that time. People are like, they're still trying to win and they're still competing, but it's like they want to eat. Everybody wants to relax. It's like because of what happened to me the year before, I was like hungry, real vicious and hungry. So I cut another 11 to 160, and then I went through the tournaments. And in the state tournament, I was losing in the first round, ended up winning. In the second round, it was tied into the third period, ended up winning. And then the next morning, you have that semifinal match, and I'm like, I win this, I'm in the finals. That's such a big thing. If you win, you're in the finals. If you lose, you have to wrestle back, and the best you can get is third. So right. I was wrestling a kid who was undefeated. He was from the northern part of the state, like a tough area, and he was pinning his way through the tournament. So he was undefeated and pinning his way through the tournament. And I was like working with a guy who moved to our area, who was a college wrestler who dropped out, and he just happened to be at our school, and he was working with me, and he was his name is Tom Lewis. Shout out to Tom Lewis if you're watching. Lewis. He was a Virginia state champ, and he had come down just because his girlfriend was going to our high school, so he just came down, dropped out of college and came down to be with her, ended up working with me, and he taught me how to shoot a head on the inside single. He taught me to shoot a single leg. So I was shooting double legs. I was getting caught underneath guys, and guys were scoring on me. And
I just watched a video the other night of this guy that shoots a single. Like he just puts his hand up by your face and goes opposite leg. You can't even do anything about it.
You can't do anything about it. And we drilled it and drilled it and drilled it and drilled it. And he showed me all the, when he does this, you do this, all the contingencies. And that's very important because rarely do you just get it. So I went out into that match against this kid who's undefeated. We're both in the semifinals, and I just shoot that. I ended up winning 8-2.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, and then I went to the finals, and then I lost in the finals to a guy who beat me earlier in regionals, but the guy was better than I was.
Hell yeah.
Just a better wrestler. So that was the biggest match. That semifinals match was a huge match for me. Big win.
I had to wrestle at this holiday tournament. My dad had just died. Like 2 months before, and I was like, I'm still gonna wrestle. I'm pissed. I got a lot of anger in me right now. Yeah. I'm fucking putting this shit into wrestling, and I had to wrestle this kid. I was 52, I think, at the time. He was 165.
Yeah,
and I was telling you before, if I got a fat kid, I knew I had a fish. I could fucking handle it. But if he was yoked, I knew it was gonna be a long motherfucking day. And my whole goal was don't get pinned. So I'm just the whole time, my forehead's getting just mad burn. And this dude's massive. He is cut. He's the quarterback. I believe he played for a school called Gilman. I could still see the singlet, navy blue and gray with a big G on the front of it. And this kid's massive. And I'm like, fuck. And my coach is like, I need you to wrestle up for this one so we don't take the, full 6.
Yeah.
Don't get pinned. Like, we go out, and I'm just a mixture of so many emotions. Adrenaline from this match. My dad's dead. Like, we don't even have parents now. Like, it's a wild time. And I just fucking put my hand on the back of this dude's head, and I just gave him a chuck. Just right here by me.
Yeah.
And that neck just came out. Just enough. And I was like, I'm going to headlock this motherfucker. And I fucking threw my arm around him and I hip flipped him and dropped on him. You're not supposed to. I threw that arm over his fucking mouth.
Yeah. And
I'm telling you, I don't know. I felt like my dad might have grabbed his hair and pulled him by. That neck came out just too far. And now I'm on top and I'm giving him every fucking thing, like every bit of fucking anger I got from everything, but also the whole time I'm thinking, if he gets up, I am fucking dead.
Can't let him up, yeah.
I'm dead. And then I hear boom, and I got him. And I can't fucking believe it. And I get up. It's I think it was the fastest pin in the tournament. I think it was like 11 seconds, and then I just went back in the locker room and I just fucking broke down and just cried cried and cried and cried and cried. And I was like, fuck that guy. And then we were talking. I was just so funny because some of the guys that I wrestled with showed up in Tampa at my show, and my buddy Bernie's like, remember when Kirsten will tell you, remember when the coach wanted to fight me? And I was like, oh yeah, I didn't, but I do now. We had a coach wanting to beat his ass. But yeah. And the coach gets on the head coach gets on the bus, and he meant well. You know what I mean? He's just a fucking wrestler.
Yeah.
From kid up, you know what I mean? And he's trying to be nice about everything, and he's giving awards out as we're on the bus home. It's it's dark as shit. You've been there all motherfucking days.
Right.
And this award goes out to, and I'm like, oh, he's gonna say the fastest pin in the tournament. This motherfucker said to a guy that should have never won at all. This dude had no chance, and I'm like, who's he talking about? He's like, Ryan Sickler. I'm like, Jesus Christ, bro. Let's go with fastest pin in the tournament, man. You talking about I had zero chance out there at all, and I can't believe he won.
I had another match where I was a sophomore, and I was wrestling this kid in a tournament who was a senior, and he was undefeated, and I was doing good. I was like taking him down, all this stuff. And then I got in on a double leg takedown, and instead of sprawling back, he met me with force and stepped over me and pinned me. And that was like, I was floored. I was like, it's like you get your hopes up. You're like, I could win this.
Yeah.
I could win this thing. Then one mistake, you stop when you're going through and he steps over you and just pins you.
That's how Mike Jones would get you to stop. Pause. He would just go cradle. You'd be like, what? And that was it. What the huh was enough to get you to.
But I don't know how would you take I really got sensitive on the losses. I was humiliated. Like, I really took it to heart instead of just going, all right, it's a loss, I'll come back from it. It's like my resilience was just like, I was rough because I was so sensitive of a person.
I was very sensitive too, but after losing my dad and everything, I just would get up and be like, there's worse shit going on. You know what I'm saying? 14-2 is good with me.
Yeah. That's great.
My brother, he got pinned one time. My dad was there for this, and I'll never forget. My dad made me laugh so hard. My brother goes out, and he's going against, he was a sophomore at the time too. He's going against the quarterback of the football team, captain, varsity, looked the part.
Right.
Legit looked like 6'2", looked the fucking part. Looks like he's going to play D1.
Right.
And my brother's a string bean. And my brother goes out there and he gets pinned in 6 seconds, dude. 6. You know how fast that is? That's so fast.
It's pretty great.
It's so fast to get a human being down, controlled, and still get a ref in 6 fucking seconds. And when my brother came back, he's like, man, I don't know what happened. And my dad goes, Derek, people ride bulls longer than that. And that shit made me laugh so fucking hard. It made me laugh so hard. Like,
it's fun to have a sense of humor. I never had a sense of humor about it. Nothing. I don't know. I wrestled in Ohio, and we go to these tournaments. Our program was really good in Ohio. Shout out Canfield. And
Campfield?
our coach was great, Stacy Madison, and we would go to these tournaments all over the place. And Ohio, this team, St. Ed's is a powerhouse in Ohio. They're ranked nationally every year. And anytime a kid would get pinned from St. Ed's, the whole place would just erupt.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like
So
a Rudy moment going on with everyone.
It was like,
of those
oh my
kids.
God, yeah, Ed's kid down. Because they were so dominant. So anytime one of their kids got pinned, everybody would erupt, man.
So you bounced back between Youngstown, Ohio, and Boca.
Yeah.
Was there a difference in the two growing up? The kids in the Youngstown neighborhood versus the kids in the Boca neighborhoods?
There was more diversity in Florida.
Okay.
In Youngstown, it was like mostly it was mostly white and Irish, Italian, that kind of thing. When you go to Florida, it was more diverse, so it was different that way. Also,
any group tend to be a little more of the degenerates, Florida or Ohio?
You had on both sides, but on both. But I think I said this to you off air. Really good kids. People have nightmare high school experiences and stuff. In both places, I have dear friends. It was really good in both places. I really enjoyed it. And when I was moving back, when I was in high school from Ohio I really did not want to go. I loved Ohio and I wanted to stay.
Why? What was better about there?
It was just because when I was in middle school, I was going to another school. Like I was playing like football for the town, the Boca Jets. So I would play football, and it wasn't like for the school. So I'd go home from my middle school, and they all played for another team. We all played City League, so they played for another team. I played for our team, but I went to school in their district. And the way it was set up, you would go to practice at 6 p.m. So it was like a pain. When I went back to Ohio, you play for the school. That was much better because now I'm 13, so you're starting to notice girls. Girls know you play the football team.
Right.
You're going to practice after you're done by 5:30. Like you go home, eat dinner. It's like much more contained. And everybody's in the same, you're playing for the school, whatever. So I love that. I really loved it. And I didn't want to go back to Florida. But once I got back to Florida, I reintegrated in the high school, and I loved it. Yeah.
Better wrestlers in Ohio than Florida, for sure.
Florida, but there were good individual standouts in Florida because I was looking up some of the guys that had competed in states that year, and a lot of them went to college and on a Division I level did very well.
You did,
including
you went
the guy
to Penn
that beat
State,
me.
right?
Yeah, I went, but I was not. I was like a practice squad guy. Like there's guys who were in the Florida states who were very successful. Like Chris Bono was like a sophomore. I don't know if you know that name, but he wrestled for Iowa State. He won at least a couple of national championships
from Iowa.
He's a great wrestler. So there's individual, but the programs in Ohio were better. Boca is so nice, the beach and everything. You don't have any of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's,
steel and
on the weekends it's like, are you guys going to the beach this weekend?
Yeah,
it's like you didn't have any of that in Ohio. Yeah.
If we wanted to go to the beach, it was you packed up for the week and took the family to the beach. It's not like here where you're day tripping or Boca where you're just going. Yeah, we went to the beach for a couple hours today.
Yeah,
like a couple hours.
Yeah,
we got a condo now. What are you talking about?
Right.
And
girls in bikinis and all that
yeah,
stuff.
Yeah.
It's like that's unbelievable.
Dude, thank you. Plug, promote anything you'd like, please.
At Comic Mike V on all social media platforms. At Comic Mike V. MikeVecchione.com for dates. I got dates coming up through the fall and into the winter. And also my podcast, Mike Vecchione Investigates, available on iTunes, the Gas Digital Network.
Hell yeah. As always, RyanSickler.com. Ryan Sickler on all social media. Come see me on tour. All tickets on my website at RyanSickler.com. We'll talk to y'all next week.